Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today we are looking at the Victory class Star Destroyer, not the Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer that everyone is so infamously familiar with. It's the Victory. Now, I've got a write up here coming from the Imperial source book, which was where we got all of our original stuff. Um, Before I start reading, I really want to express that this is a precursor to the Imperial 2, which is what we see in the opening of A New Hope. So before we had ever gotten the Clone Wars, Star Destroyers, the Vindicators, um, and the like, this is where the Star Destroyers had kind of come from in the original, before George Lucas had then gone and created um, the Clone Wars and that. So, although, if I do remember correctly, I do believe that this does mention being used in the Clone Wars, but let's get into this and see how we go. All right, our Victory class Star Destroyer. Technically advanced is a or technical tech, let me start this over. Technologically advanced is a byproduct of war. The battle marred era marked by the Clone Wars saw the creation of bigger, faster, and more heavily armed and armored combat vessels. The best of this bumper crop was the Victory class Star Destroyer. Designed by Republic engineers Welix Blissix, the Victory was commissioned into service as the wars were drawing to a close. Consequently, though these ships saw little action during the wars, they formed the bulk of the Republic Navy for years following. For a time, it seemed these vessels would be replaced by the larger, newer Imperial class destroyers, but since the rebellion moved into full swing, the Victory has served in the defense of the Empire. The Victory Star Destroyer carries out three standard mission types: planetary defense, planetary assault, and troop transport, and ship to ship combat. So, fourth one. It is much better at the first two than the latter. One of the vessel's most powerful advantages is its ability to enter upper levels of a planet's atmosphere, something the newer Star Destroyers cannot do. This permits precision ground attacks and the pursuit of smaller craft hoping to escape by diving toward planet. The Victor class vessel's main deficiency is its slow sublight speed. However, it does have rapid hyperspace capabilities and can make jumps quickly. To augment its slow speed, the Victory carries two TIE fighter squadrons. Okay, so that's where we get to this, and it's funny because this was all written well before we did the Clone Wars, and we had all the other things going on. Um, most like, or most notably, really, uh, what we see in today's Star Wars is, I know that Filoni is a he's a good shepherd for a lot of what Star Wars is doing. I think he's trying to keep the George Lucas's vision. Whether you agree with that or not, that's always up to debate, and I'm not saying one way or the other. That's my personal look at it, because when I watch his content, I think he's trying as best as he can. Um, I remember seeing reports that kind of stated that he is kind of a big Star Wars nerd, geek, whatever you want to call him. He is a big fan of Star Wars, has a lot of information. I know he's grabbed stuff from these D6 books in the past. The problem is, I think sometimes he's trying to do things that are a little out of his element, and of course, everyone's trying to get to the iconic stuff, and we're trying to skip over different things along the way. Um, I think in like the Bad Batch, they could have showed a couple of these here and there, um, acknowledging that there is a progression to where we are. Um, as you'll note, you've heard me state it before. What we're used to seeing is what's called the Imperial 2 class Star Destroyer. So we have a Victory 2, then we go to Imperial and Imperial 2. And then we start going into the Superstar Destroyers and so on and so forth. Um, so as things evolve, because I believe that when we get to the regular, actually, let me look this up because it's in the book. When we get to the regular Star Destroyer, I think we go back down to about 600 meters. When we look at this, this is a Randall Star Drives Victory 1 class Star Destroyer. I think when we start looking at these, because I think the actual size drops down. I'm at the right place. I'm just on the wrong page. Okay. So then we get to the Victory. Yep. Okay. So the Victory 900. 900 for the Victory 2 Imperial. No, I'm wrong. The Victory is 900 meters. Our Imperial is 1,600 meters. So 1.6 kilometers long. And they just start getting bigger and bigger. So these are a nice stopgap in between, and I really do see it that way. And then when we start seeing some of these other ships that we're going to hit on, and we will go through all the write-ups and everything else that are there, the might of the Empire and its ability to get these big vessels, and it's not just putting a ship in space, but it's really putting a space station wherever you go. Um, the ability to, and I know on the Imperial class, they actually have pre-constructed bases stored inside that they can land down and put up an Imperial outpost onto a planet. So they can actually just drop down a force to occupy a planet, and then they can kind of either sit there and sustain an orbit, or they could even just kind of have another ship come in. They can go back, resupply, get back into formation, and get ready to go on for the next campaign or whatever else that there is. All right, so as I was saying before, we have a length of 900 meters. We have a crew of 4,798, and of that, 402 of them are gunners. So if we have a skeleton crew of 1,785, which is a lot of people, um, there is a negative there. I mean, when we look at the game terms, it's a plus 15, so it's an extra 15 added onto your roll that you have to kind of make it uh, in order to succeed at a skill roll. Okay, so passengers, we're looking at 2,040. Typically, that's going to be troops, but it could also be some other diplomats along the way. Cargo space, we do have 8,100 metric tons. These are meant to be, like I said, more or less floating star bases. So we have consumables for 4 years. Now, with a ship designed like this, some of the other benefits is if they were to put down a planetary base, they can offload some of the supplies here, for like a year or two, and then they can kind of, like I said, go back to the rear, resupply, come back, or go on to the next campaign. All right, so we do have a hyperdrive of 8 times 1 with a backup of 8 times 15. Yes, it does have a nav computer, which you would definitely expect in a big military vessel like this. It has a maneuverability of 1D. These are very slow, lumbering vessels. These are definitely not starfighters, and they are never intended to be. This is where its downfall is. It is a space of 4. So this really is on par with your large bulk cruisers, um, or transports, whatever you want to call them. So, I mean, it itself is not going to be chasing down other vessels. But most notably, it has the hangar capability of having ships that will. So that's really how you have to look at it. It's like this is your aircraft carrier. You're going to have all your other support vessels, which is what was kind of envisioned originally. These are going to be your big aircraft carriers, or aircraft carriers slash um, Battleship. I wanted to say battle cruiser, but battleship. Um, as my mind's trying to catch up to what I'm trying to say. All right. So in an atmosphere, because these were rated for originally being in an atmosphere. Now, when we get to the Imperial and the Imperial 2, we will have to take a little note to say that, originally they weren't thought that they were going to be in an atmosphere, but here we are. Um, they can go about 800 kilometers an hour. It does have a very earlier on a respectable hull at 4D. Remember, this is going to be at capital scale. So if you were Luke Skywalker trying to attack it, because you're in an X-wing, uh, because of a size difference. Okay, just like when we look at the size difference in Dungeons and Dragons and some of these other games. I know GURPS does it, and so many others. Having that size difference, if you're a smaller item or vessel or whatever trying to attack a bigger, your damage is reduced. So I could either say the hull would be a 60 for a starfighter trying to attack it, or their weapons are down by 2D. Either way you want to say it. Now, shields, it does have some pretty respectable shields at a 3D plus 1. It is meant to be there and take some punishment. So that's the way it's kind of set up here. So our sensor packet, we can passively scan for about 4 kilometers. We can actively scan for about 7 kilometers. We can do a nice search at 15 kilometers, and focus is about 400 meters. So weapons. This is kind of a, do you want weapons? They said yes, all of them. So we have 10 quad turbo laser batteries. Now, these are all these weapons here are at capital scale. So when you look at it, the fire control is at a 4D. That means that when it's actually shooting, because typically I believe, well, maybe not. I was thinking that your turbo laser batteries might be going up against starfighters and that, but yeah, maybe not here. These are going to be our bigger guns. But because this is an older ship, it still has a fire control of 4D. So if it's trying to shoot at a starfighter, it's going to be down to a 2D. It's doing 5 damage. If it was going to be at a starfighter, it'd be 7 damage. But looking at it, we have 5 on the left and 5 on the right. So um, if I don't have this posted up already as a picture here for you guys to look at, typically I like it so you guys can see all these stats. On most of our Star Destroyers, we have the turbo laser batteries on the side here. Now this is just kind of drawn out here nicely, but what we don't see is any cannons on here whatsoever. I'm going to say that they're probably there, but just not really drawn in very well. Because I do see that with a lot of regular Imperial class Star Destroyers too. When someone's drawing them, they don't draw in the cannons. Um, it gets kind of harder to do at times. I don't know how big the original painting that whoever had done that had done. So if it was a smaller picture to begin with, they may not have done it. All right, so we have 40 double turbo laser batteries. Now these are the ones I'm going to guess are probably going to be used against starfighters and the like. Um, and damage is 2D plus 2. So with a fire control of 3D, if you're shooting at a smaller, it's going to be a 1D, so it's a little bit more rudimentary. Damage will go up to a 4D plus 2 against a starfighter, and it sounds on par. And then we have 80 concussion missile launchers. So that is a whole heck of a lot. And, shoot. Oh, all right. We do have, thought I missed some of it, but the list goes farther than just one page here on on Word here. So we have 40 or 20 in the front, 20 in the left, 20 in the right, and 20 in the back. We have a fire control of 2D. These do 90 damage. Now this is all at capital scale, so you have another capital scale starship that gets hit by this. This is probably going to be a little bit of an ouch. All right, and then we have 10 tractor beam projectors. Notably, we have 6 in the front, 2 on the left, and 2 on the right. Now, when I'm looking up different pictures for this, there is a model that I will have on the screen at some point here. And what you're going to see is I'm going to kind of scroll this up. This can carry 2 squadrons of starfighters. We have what looks like an extra wing. Now, somebody came up with an idea that that wing opens up. So we're going to see that wing open up, and then that's going to be a series of hangar bays, most notably to probably launch the starfighters. So I'm going to guess you're going to have 2 tractor beams on either side for trying to bring in your fighter craft or support vessels or whatever. Now we have 6 in the front. What we don't see here, and I don't know, I'm going to guess that there may be an underbelly hangar. I could be wrong, but having the projectors in the front may also help in trying to seize pirate vessels and stuff like that as well. Or um, I'm doing a little stretch, but I'm thinking militarily. There's a possibility you might want to try and shoot out your tractor beam so you can hopefully hold another ship at a close range, so that way you can just keep shooting at it, or keep it from getting away from you as you're shooting at it. Either way, but with 2 squadrons of starfighters, if I remember correctly, I want to say actually I keep forgetting that I'm doing this because I'm sitting here with the Imperial Source Book. So the nice thing is the Imperial Source Book actually does tell us how many ships are in a squadron and all that. It was really a very nice source book when you're looking at it and going through all of the different things that they have in here on how the Navy was all supposed to be organized and everything else. I want to say I think a squadron is 48 starfighters. So that means that this has now got 96 starfighters on here, plus whatever other support vessels. So that's a lot to have to kind of worry about. Now, when we look at TIE fighters, and I'm thumbing through, so I'm not going to find this offhand. When we're looking at our TIE fighters, and you're looking at a squadron, you're going to see that there's a lot of different types of fighters in a squadron because you're going to have your straight attack fighters. You're going to have observation fighters, some bombers, stuff like that, all mixed in there. So you may have a squadron, but they're going to have different wings in there. So just kind of how most of the time when you're looking at this stuff, that's how it's all divided up. So, all right, well, here we are. It's another wonderful ship to look at. Another ship that's not really seen in canon anywhere. It is brought up in some of the source books. Notably, it was brought up in the Thrawn trilogy. Because when Thrawn had a kind of backwards navy, but he was also augmented with some of his own craft that he had kind of had. So, but here we are. Nice ship, nice stopgap ship in between. It would be wonderful to be able to see this somewhere in canon. I don't know if it'll ever happen or not, but it would be wonderful. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for visiting. I always appreciate it. We'll see you in the next video.